Fusion Flavours, I'm Steve Quirk, and welcome to a very special Fusion Flavours. Now, I've been doing Fusion Flavours for over 33 years this year, and it's always a school day, always interviewing different people, and I cannot believe my special guest today, our paths just haven't crossed. We've got lots of mutual friends along the way, and it's great to speak to one of my favourite sax players of all time. He was with the Billy Joel band in the glory years from 76 to 81-ish. But it's great to speak to this guy today. And he's appearing at the inaugural Burks JazzFest rescheduled summer festival. Now, this should have been earlier this year. It's been rescheduled for Friday, September the 22nd and Saturday, September the 23rd. The First Energy Stadium in Reading, Pennsylvania, a place I've been going to the Burks JazzFest for well in excess of 20 years. My very special guest who is appearing on this wonderful weekend. And it's great to speak to saxophonist Mr. Richie Cannata.
Well, thank you so much. That's a great intro. I feel honored to be doing this.
Richie, man, I've been a fan. I've been a fan for years, mate. And as I mentioned, I can't believe our paths haven't crossed. We've got loads of musical friends along the way that I've interviewed for years. Andy Snitzer's a good friend of mine.
Mine as well.
Yeah, a real nice guy. And we're all looking forward to the rescheduled Burks Summer Jazz Fest, September the 22nd, that's the Friday when you're appearing, and it goes through to Saturday the 23rd, the First Energy Stadium in Reading, Pennsylvania. So we're going to talk about that, talk about you, talk about Billy Joel, and talk about everything in between. If we can squeeze it all into an hour, Richie.
We could probably do it.
Absolutely. Right, let's go back to those early days. Was it a musical family you came from, Richie?
No one played, but my mom and dad were certainly very much supportive of what I did. So they were kind of in question of what I was doing, but I was definitely touched by God at 4 years old. I knew that there was music in my soul, so they just supported me. My mom and dad were very big supporters.
I know you played keyboards and stuff, and what turned you on to the sax back in the day?
Well, I started out around 4 years old on keyboards, of which I was listening to Sammy Spear Orchestra, the Honeymooners on TV, and I was listening to big band stuff, and so I wanted to figure out what I was hearing at about 4 or 5 years old. I wasn't sure what it was, so a keyboard was the easiest, the most natural path for me to take, because you can actually see on a keyboard when you're playing. So I started out with that, and then once I got into elementary school, looking to play an instrument and wanted to play trombone, believe it or not, and the musical director at that time, my good friend who just passed away, Mr. Riz Britton, had said to me, we need clarinet players. So I went and started clarinet. Fell in love with the clarinet. I thought it was the greatest thing in the world. And that was a natural path for me at 8 years old to pick up a tenor saxophone. And once I picked up the tenor, Steve, I never looked back.
Amazing. Clarinet back in the day, when I was growing up in the 60s, I'm a UK boy, so again, there was some great musicians over here. And Acker Bilk, Stranger on the Shore, even as a kid, I just loved the melody, I loved the instrument. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, oh yeah. I liked Charlie Parker, I loved John Coltrane, but I wasn't turned on by the alto. It didn't do it for me. The tenor did it for me. The sound of the tenor did it for me. And once I started playing it, I knew that was what I was going to do. Well, I was hoping I could do it, and make a living at it. So.
Well, it definitely worked out your way. Now, everybody's looking forward to this rescheduled Burks Summer Fest, which, as I say, should have been earlier this year. And it's been rescheduled for Friday, September the 22nd. And this is going to be great. Headlining act, Richie Cannata and the Billy Joel All-Star Band. Tell me about that, Richie.
Well, they came to me and they wanted to do, the word jazz is in the marquee, but they wanted something a poppy, and they came to me, and also Skylar Deal, who is one of Billy's bass players in Billy's history of playing live, was his bass player, and he lives in that area. So we had, last year, we had actually played with him for his birthday party, believe it or not. And then someone said, I think it was John, who was there, and said, "This is tremendous. Let's do this for the festival." And I said, "I'd be more than happy to. I can put a great band together." So I got Liberty DeVito, who is, of course, the drummer on a good 30, 40 years worth of Billy's music. And I put together also musicians from Moving Out, which was Billy's Broadway show, and the Lords of 52nd Street, which is the original Billy Joel band. So I've got a great band coming in, and we're going to do some great songs for them, and we're going to make it probably a little bit more different than the Jazz Festival has done before. There'll be a lot of vocals, there'll be some soloing and things of that nature, but for the most part, it's going to be a wonderful day.
Oh, Richie, I've got goosebumps, man. And, you just reaming off those people and those people that have played with you over the years and years doing Billy Joel music for this opening evening. It's going to be amazing at the Burks Summer Festival on Friday, September the 22nd. You kick off at 7 o'clock, and it's going to be a 2-hour show, and it's just going to be absolutely amazing. I just wish I was there, man.
Yeah, me too. It's going to be tremendous. It really is. I hope again, and it's in God's hands, that we have a good day, because we were geared up to really have that show back in the beginning of the summer, and it just didn't work for us. It was a series of 3 to 4 days in a row that the weather was horrible. But hopefully we'll get some good weather, and we'll get to do this show.
Now, as we mentioned, it's going to be Richie Cannata and the Billy Joel All-Star Band. Let's play a couple of tracks which you may be playing on the night, but let's take you back to those days with Billy Joel. And how did the whole Billy Joel gig come around for you, Richie?
It's a great question. I have answered this many times before. I was called in at NYIT, which is a studio here on Long Island, to do a studio recording session. And when I got there, the engineer was Doug Stegmeyer's brother, Al Stegmeyer, and he was the engineer for me to play on. Actually, it was the Sesame Street session, right? And the day before, Liberty DeVito and Doug Stegmeyer were the bass player and drummer on that session. So I went ahead and did my part, and they had just recently, a month before, joined Billy. And Al said, my brother was in here yesterday, and Billy's looking for a sax player that plays keyboards. And I said, well, I do that. I can do that. And I was a little apprehensive about, we're not going to fit, my saxophone with this guy, the Piano Man, because that was his big hit back then. So they came to see me play. They loved what I did. Then they invited me to Ultrasonic Studios in Hempstead, Long Island. And I went in there, and they were cutting Angry Young Man, which was amazing. And I walked in, I went, wow, these guys, this is not Piano Man. And then Billy invited me into the control room and said, this is the song I'd like you to play on. And it was New York State of Mind, the basic track. Okay, I think I could do this. And that was the actual beginning of me accepting the gig and Billy asking me to join the band.
What an unbelievable way to start your career with Billy Joel. And I think we should play this. Now, this is from the Turnstiles album. It's taking you back to 1976. I think I just left school. I was to get into Billy Joel a little bit later, which I'll tell you about in a minute. But this is from the Turnstiles album from Billy Joel. Sax on here from my very special guest, Mr. Richie Cannata. This is the unbelievable New York State of Mind. Fusion Flavours, I'm Steve Quirk. There we go, the full album version of New York State of Mind. The sax solo on there from my very special guest, Mr. Richie Cannata. Richie, I've got goosebumps again, man. They're not going away.
I got to tell you something about that song. Because of me being the first guy to play that, many, many other people and artists have done that, from Barbra Streisand to on and on and on. But last summer, a summer and a half ago, when we were having the resurgence of our great city of New York, I was asked to play New York State of Mind with the New York Philharmonic in front of 70,000 people and another 200 million on CNN that broadcasted it. And also the guests were Andre Bocelli and Jennifer Hudson that afternoon. So that song has taken me around the world and back And I'm very, very proud to say that I was the very, very first one to play on the Turnstiles record and to play that solo. And we will do that on the 22nd.
Everybody's looking forward to that. But that was 1976, and as I mentioned before, those were the glory years, and 76 was Turnstiles. And when that album was recorded, didn't Billy record it with Elton John's band, and then he was disillusioned with it, and he re-recorded it all with you guys, later on in 76?
That's why you get the big bucks, bro. That is absolutely right. What had happened was Billy was out in California, and his management at that time wanted him to start the Turnstiles record with those guys. It did not work. He was hiding out in a piano bar somewhere. He decided then to come east. And when he came east, he then hired Liberty, myself, and Doug, and Russell, and we began to do the Turnstiles record, of which is the beginning of the Billy Joel Band.
And those were the glory years, from 76 then to the classic album The Stranger, which really, it catapulted you even further, man. And that was the one that, for me, that really, really put you guys on the map in 77. And also having the producer, Phil Ramone, who I've always adored as a top producer. How did Phil get involved with The Stranger and the early stuff, Richie?
Well, we were looking for someone, it was all self-produced, the Turnstiles record. And we were looking for someone to produce us. We went to George Martin. He didn't think we were a good fit for him. And we went to Phil and Elizabeth Joel, our manager, Billy's wife. For some reason, the path led to Phil Ramone. And we were playing Carnegie Hall in New York. And Phil came to see us. I think we were supposed to play one night. We ended up playing 3. And Phil saw us the first night, and the second night, I believe he came in and brought the record plant truck and recorded us and said, "This is freaking amazing," and he wanted to jump aboard. So then he jumped aboard, because that night at the Carnegie Hall, we did a lot of the songs that Billy was writing and we were playing that ended up on the Stranger record. He heard us and said, "I need to get you guys," and Billy's quote was, "Love me, love my band." Right, and we ended up doing the Stranger record with Phil Ramone at A&R Studios in Manhattan.
Did you realize what the Stranger album was once Phil was on board? And again, at that time, you guys were so busy. Love Me, Love My Band. There you were doing all these shows around the US and everywhere. And did you realize that the Stranger album was something special at the time, Richie?
Well, I think every musician does when you record your record. We definitely thought it was special, but we were out there playing these songs, and we saw the reaction we were getting. But we were so, and part of my metaphor, we were so inside of the cone of the speaker, we really couldn't hear what was going on. We were just so inside of the music and everything. We were gigging 6-7 months at a time, working, playing. So, and then all of a sudden, our agent came out on the road and said, "Boy, you guys are really doing well." It's hard when you're so inside of it, but we were enjoying every minute, and there was no stopping us. There was absolutely no stopping us. We were killing it out on the road.
And that particular album, again, it wasn't off my turntable in 77. And one track which everybody goes to, and it could be a movie within a song. Tell me about Scenes from an Italian Restaurant.
Well, that's probably one of my favorite because I'm playing all over it. And there was a poll last year about rock and roll records that have been recorded, the history of rock and roll records recorded with saxophone in them. And I came in number 9 with this one, with Scenes from an Italian Restaurant. It's got a theme in the beginning that I play that I just channeled a theme, whether it was from Coltrane or Mike Brecker or something, but I just that just came to me. It was one take, and it was something that was very special that ended up to be a big theme in the actual recording. There also was a very cool thing for me, and it was songs that Billy had written, that there was like 3 songs altogether that we kind of put together. It wasn't written beginning to end like that. It was a couple others. It was songs that he had put together, and I got to play the rock and roll solo in it, which I love that solo that I did, and I also got to play clarinet in the song about New Orleans.
Richie, I've still got goosebumps, man. I think we should play this in its entirety and just listen and weep.
This is a classic enjoy.
Fusion Flavours, I'm Steve Quirk. My very special guest is still with me, Richie Cannata. Sings from an Italian restaurant. Is that going to be done on that Friday night, Richie?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, no, don't do this to me. Don't do this to me. The Stranger album. Now, I told you, I've loved Billy Joel's music for many, many, many years. And I had my epiphany moment, and you were on it. It was the Old Grey Whistle Test, the 14th of March, 1978. I watched it in a black and white TV in my bedroom. And it was on a Tuesday night. And this concert came on from the Old Grey Whistle Test. I think it was from Drury Lane, I think it was, in London. And it was just phenomenal. I didn't know who Billy Joel was. But there he was with his band. And you were there as well, weren't you, Richie?
Oh, yeah. And we were innocent babes. We were just loving the music. This was big time for us, too, being in Europe. And we had strength. There was no doubt about it. We were confident in what we did. The music that Billy had written was unbelievable. We were performing it with our parts the way we felt it from the bottom of our hearts. Doug Stegmeyer was our musical director. It was a magical moment that I'm going to be able to say for the rest of my life and my kids' life and my grandkids and great-grandkids will be able to see that and understand what really, really happened back in those days.
Bless. It was the start of me being into Billy Joel music and exploring it, then finding the back catalogue albums, like Turnstiles, Piano Man, Street Life Serenade. Because I remember back in the day, that was 78, and then I think I saw Billy, I think he did 5 or 6 dates across the UK in 79, and he came to my hometown of Manchester, and I managed to sneak in at the back, on the back of the stage, when Billy and you guys were on at the Manchester Apollo 1979. And I saw you guys there, which was amazing. And then that is when all the madness started. And then moving on from The Stranger, 1978 was 52nd Street. And, honestly, man, it just goes from strength to strength. Moving to the 52nd Street album, again, sort of, 52nd Street known for jazz, and Billy's holding a trumpet on the back and on the front of the cover as well. And 52nd Street, again, another album produced by Phil Ramone, another beautiful album. And, moving away from The Stranger to this, and a couple of great grooves on there. The classic, which you're on, is which is just an anthem again, Until the Night.
Oh, wow. Yeah. So, you ready for that story?
Go on. Go on, tell me.
We live on Long Island here in New York, and Billy was Cold Spring Harbor area, Cove's Neck, beautiful part of our North Shore of Long Island. And he had this big 9-foot, I guess it was a Bosendorfer, and for some reason, I had found myself over at his house, and he said, I want you to hear this new song that I just wrote that had a little bit of the Righteous Brothers. And he starts to begin to play it, the bong, 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 bong. And I went, wow, where it's going to go from here? And he played me it, and he sang it. And when he got to the saxo, he goes, okay, this is where you play. And I went, okay, yes, I can play there. So the next thing we knew that, when we recorded this stuff, there wasn't any cerebral things going on. It was just a gift from God. We got our antennas straightened up to the universe, and it came in, and then it came out. And that's how we made these records on 24-track recording. Got into the studio probably within the next couple of days, recorded it. I did my solo. That was a one-take solo. And the rest is history. And again, we do that a lot, too. We do that song a lot. And Russell Javers actually sings that live.
Amazing. Absolutely. Another track on that particular album that blew me away and was Half a Mile Away. Again, the uplifting, that and the innocence of it, sneaking on the roof, you're only half a mile away. I've got goosebumps again, man. They're not going away, Richie.
Yeah, that was a great song. we're talking to me, and we're having this conversation. But Billy is the pop icon of our century. He wrote amazing. I was doing a set list for a show that we're doing the day after tomorrow, and I was looking at All About Soul. What a great song!
Oh,
he writes. He just continuously. Summer Highland Falls. I've loved these days.
yeah.
I mean, it goes on and on of how great of a songwriter he is.
Absolutely. Even going back in the day, to his very first album, which was, he's not really struck on it, but it was Cold Spring Harbor. And again, there was one or two, She's Got Away, Everybody. You redid that back in '81 on the album, which came out on the Songs in the Attic. But,
right.
Cold Spring Harbor, when I look to that, and I play stuff like Got to Begin Again. And again, it's just absolutely beautiful composition, Richie.
Amazing. When we first started out, it was fun playing because we didn't have all, the host of records that we've done together. So in the beginning, we played like She's Got Away and Los Angelinos and things like that. It was fun to play Entertainer, and so we got to play some of the stuff that we didn't actually play on before the band was created.
I remember seeing you back in the day, and you always used to sneak on to one of my favorite instrumentals, Mexican Connection.
Oh wow, yeah, we did that. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? You always sneak on stage, and that was playing. The lights had gone down. Mexican Connection had played, and that again, I've got goosebumps. It's one of those that just still gives me goosebumps after all these years. It's sacrilegious to go through this stuff so fast, Richie, but everybody's looking forward to the Burks Summer Festival, which is Friday, September the 22nd. You're appearing at 7 o'clock. It is going to be amazing. Richie Cannata and the Billy Joel All-Star Band. Just picking up on another couple of things before, I've finally got to let you go. I'm holding on to your lapels. I'm not letting you go here, Richie. But let's talk about Glass Houses. And again, you just go from strength to strength to strength. And again, that album, You May Be Right, which you're playing on. And then Still Rock and Roll to Me. All right, Rico. You know what I mean? It's just like, oh man.
The Still Rock and Roll, again, that was one take. Billy and Phil said, Billy said to me, this is really great. Before that solo, he said to me, play a solo that someone's going to remember in 20 years. And I said, what? 20 years. Now I'm 20 something years old. I said, 20 years? Are you kidding me? I'm not going to remember. Who's going to remember this in 20 days from now, Well, here we are 45 years later, and we're talking about it. And I know, it's pretty amazing. And before the solo, my family calls me Rico. Billy calls me Rico. Russell calls me Rico. My wife calls me Rico. My brother calls me Rico. A lot of people call me Rico. And it kind of stuck. And when he said, all right, Rico, before my solo, then it was like, okay, that's his name. So,
it's still rock and roll to me, Richie.
Yeah, man.
All right, Rico, that is great. Still sounds cool after 45 years, Richie.
Yeah.
You know one thing, I've got a complaint, and it's on Glass Houses. One of my favourite tracks is I Don't Want to Be Alone Anymore. The sax solo is too short, mate. The sax solo is too short.
I think about that on every solo that I have.
Honestly, man, that is played beautifully. I love that. I just wish it opened up and played for 2 or 3 minutes, man. You're going to have to do me that. You're going to have to do it once you get back to your studio in Cove City Sound.
I'll do a version of that for you.
Oh, you're a nice man. Listen, let's move on to that and talk about the Cove City Sound Studios. Tell me about the whole thing, how that came about, because it's a big part of your life, and you're still the boss. You've been there for what? Oh, when was it? Since 1983?
About 40 years. I'm sitting in my studio right now. I decided to parlay my revenue streams into something different. My wife and I, Charlene and I, decided to do this, and we've had nothing but success. We had hits from Taylor Dane to Ray Charles to Billy, River of Dreams record, to Whitney Houston, to Mariah Carey, to J-Lo, to Celine Dion, to Dream Theater. We recently did the Jonas Brothers' new record here. John Bellion, a producer, came in, and he's been our main producer. We did Shawn Mendes, Tori Kelly this year. We have done Dreamgirls. We won an Oscar for Chicago, the movie. It's been pretty crazy. I can only say it's been an amazing run for us. Michael Pollack, one of the greatest songwriters ever, has been working out of here. And I'm just very, very blessed.
I'm surprised you find any other time to do anything else, Richie.
I'm here. I'm here from about 10:30, 11 o'clock in the morning till about 6. Then I'll either do a gig or whatever I'm doing if it's local. And then I come back at around 10 or 11, and I practice every night from about 10 to about 2.
Wow, isn't it funny? I've interviewed a lot of sax players over the years, from Grover to Kirk Whalum to many of these different artists over the years. And again, it's all about, and even Kenny G, speaking to that guy, you speak to these guys and they're practicing 2 or 3 hours every single day. Every
day I practice.
Yeah.
About 2 hours.
Oh, yeah. Unbelievable, mate. Unbelievable.
It's an instrument that you can't just, you cannot touch a piano for 6 months and play it, and it's going to sound exactly the same that you touched it 6 months ago. It's not that way.
Yeah.
With a saxophone, there's reeds, there's an embouchure, spit. It's your body, it's your solar plexus, it's your health. It's so much more than just blowing into the piece of plumbing,
Absolutely. But going through all of those music, I remember it back in the day, and it's still beautiful. And we're going to play it now. Is I'll Always Love You. Taylor Dane, and you did the sax solo on that, Richie. Tell me about the track.
I did. She was our first hit that we had here. Oddly enough, I guess I could say this. It's been a long time. Clive Davis she was on, I think, Arista Records, and so was Kenny G. I think Kenny G was being signed, and I think Clive asked Kenny to do it, and Kenny did not want to do it, and he goes, "Well, will Richie do it?" And I said, "Hell yeah!" And so I ended up doing the sax solo on "I'll Always Love You."
Oh, well, let's play it now. Taking us back in the day with Taylor Dane, my very special guest, still with me. This is "I'll Always Love You," sax solo, the amazing Richie Cannata. I could just carry on talking to you for another couple of hours and just go through everything. Again, I must say a big thank you to you for sending me your solo album. And it's autographed. You sent me this. This is how long ago we were originally in touch with each other. 2011, the Richie Cannata album. And the track off here I was hammering at the time is Keep It in the Pocket with a geezer off Spyro Gyra.
Yeah, with Julio Fernandez.
There you go with Julio. That's it, yeah.
In your personal time, Steve, listen to my version of New York State of Mind on that record.
We've been talking that long. Unbelievable.
As our colleagues are passing, I think it's good that I document this. I just did something with HBO where I documented it, but at the very end of the edits, I might get 3 to 4 minutes in this documentary. But I think it's a good idea that we do have a conversation again and to document this for. I'm
at the end of the day, Richie. All I am is a fan, and I've had the good fortune of doing Fusion Flavours and being in radio for 33 years. And I managed to interview people that I've loved and admired for the years. And I'm just sorry it's taken 33 years to get hold of you, mate.
33 years. Wow. Wow.
I know. I'm catching you up, mate. Catching you up.
Well, it's good. I like it.
But Richie, it's been a pleasure, man. Everybody's looking forward to the inaugural Burks Summer Fest, which is rescheduled for Friday, September the 22nd, and Saturday, September the 23rd, First Energy Stadium in Reading, Pennsylvania. Beautiful part of the world. And it is with the wonderful headliner Richie Cannata and the Billy Joel All-Star Band, and it's going to be amazing. We're going to end off very, very soon with a track, and you can choose it, and we'll play it and end off the interview, Richie. But just tell me about, the Lords of 52nd Street. The first time I remember reading liner notes, I think it was on the 52nd Street album, I saw the Lords of 52nd Street.
Yeah, well, Phil Ramone gave us that name, but
was it right?
An incredible band. Dan Orlando's my principal, Billy Chair, Liberty, of course, is on drums, Russell on guitar, Malcolm Gold on bass, Doug Kistner on second keyboards, and Anthony Babino, our guitar player. These guys, I got to tell you something, Steve. You've got to see this band. This band is insane. Insane. And if you got excited about seeing us back in the 70s, you will be equally as crazily impressed with these guys. This is me talking.
Well, I'll tell you what, these goosebumps, they're not going away, man. And, Richie, amazing. I will see you. Fingers crossed, stay blessed, and fingers crossed, I hope to get to see you sometime next year. Now, you're around about the same age as Billy, aren't you?
Oh, he's way older than me.
Oh, he's a lot older than you. Oh, right, okay, he's an old man. But I know that he's been doing his residency. He's been doing his residency at Madison Square Gardens, as you know, and I think it's all going to be wound up again next year. He came over here during the summer and did a big date in Hyde Park in London, and now they're talking about winding it all down. He's talking about retiring. And good on him if he does. He's not written an album for over 30 years and lived off, and it just goes to show the quality of music over that period, right. and to still be out there doing it. I just wish my ultimate dream would be, before he actually retires, is to get the Lords of 52nd Street back together at Madison Square Gardens and do a couple of tunes. That's it.
It's in the works.
It's in the works.
We would love to do that too. It really would. We started out together, and we might say goodbye together. And I think that's what we should do. We lost Doug, but we're still playing this music with a vengeance. And I would love to get him on stage with us, and us on stage with him. And I think it should happen. It looks like it can happen. We just need to get everybody, all the peripheral people involved, to agree to time, place, and we'll see what happens. I'm praying that we can do that, and we need to do that. As we say, we're all getting older. Yeah, the age thing is only a number. We can't retire because we really never have jobs. We're doing our passion. We're making our living with our passion. So I think we should have a show. That would be terrific, of all of us back together again.
Oh, Richie, I pray for you, man. I hope that comes off. That would tie a nice bow around the gift and put it on the shelf nicely. Yeah,
and we should, however Billy wants to do it, we'll make it work. It has to be easy. It has to be love, and it has to be done in the right venue. So it'll happen. I hope so. Well, while we're still here.
Absolutely. I'm praying, my friend. I'm praying. Richie Cannata, thank you. The Burks Summer Festival, the rescheduled event, Friday, September the 22nd, 7 o'clock. Don't miss it, people. The good thing about this, it's free, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Oh, even better.
Free.
It's free. You can't say that these days. It's free. And with Richie Cannata, the Billy Joel All-Star Band, Richie Cannata. I love you, man. I really do, and love your music and what you have done for me personally over the years, and may it long continue, Richie. Do you want to play a track, anything from the repertoire, anything? We'll play it now. We'll end off the interview here, my friend.
I really loved playing on Summer Highland Falls. Highland Falls was the place that Billy went to when he left California, and he wrote New York State of Mind there, and he wrote the Turnstiles record basically there, a lot of it there. And I got to play soprano sax on that, and I think that would be a great one for us to end on. It's one of his greatest pieces, and I got to play on it, and I'm very proud about it.
Richie Cannata, stay blessed, my friend, and we'll speak very soon.
God bless you, buddy.
You're listening to Fusion Flavors with Steve Quirk.